This is a Scientific American article that I found to be just absolutely fascinating. Um, it's about how AI knows things that no one told it. And what they're finding with these large language models is that they're performing in ways that no one expected. Stephen Wolfram, who is a genius, won the MacArthur Genius Grant and so forth, and founded Wolfram Research, which came up with Mathematica. He's come up with a unified field theory for the world of physics. Just an incredible guy. He has a whole talk and articles about how these large language manuals are doing things that no one expected, and no one understands quite how they're doing it, how they work. And so this article goes through a lot of that. And here's how I think of it. These large language models have trained on literally trillions of web pages, trillions of web pages. And I don't know how large in gigabytes the model is for ChatGPT 4, but for the previous versions, the more recent previous versions, it was like 8 gigabytes. Think about that for a second. You're taking trillions of web pages and distilling them down to 8 gigabytes, which is nothing.
Yeah.
And if you've managed to accomplish that, what that means is that you have created some sort of extremely compact representation of all of those web pages. It's a miracle in compression when you think about it. And so what does that tell you? It tells you that you've got some kind of structure, some kind of phenomenal structure for representing that information. No wonder we're finding all kinds of things that this structure can perform that nobody expected it to perform.
I really quickly
Go ahead.
too, I just want to add that so one of my friends that I know has been working in data science for years, and he's trained AI models for years, like pre the hype of everything and everyone talking about it. And I remember asking him, when everything started to blow up, are you able to ask the AI models, or are you able to decipher how the AI models came up with the answers that they came up with? And he said, absolutely not. And so I
Yes.
know I have heard you say this a couple of times, and I keep meaning to bring this up. And it's so interesting that you have said in the past, well, is it possible that we have AI show you, whatever it is, like specifically talking about image scraping? Like, is it possible that the AI would show you all of the images that it's scraped? And maybe it could, but also maybe it couldn't, because the way that it's coming up with these calculations is so mind-blowing. And with every evolution that AI has made, we get further and further away from really understanding how these decisions were made. And he said when he first started, you had like a loose idea of how these decisions were made, because the way that it was computing and the input that was coming, you could, as a human, you could see and sort of trace to some extent how these answers had come to be. But he, like, even as of, it was probably 8 years ago, he was like, we don't know, like, we don't know how these answers are coming to be. And he said, and now with these large language models, it's like you're talking to a person, like they are making these connections because of how, as you say, compressed the information is, how much information has been there, and the way that they have been trained to output. Like, we as people would also not be able to tell you exactly how we came up with an answer, like
Right.
how I created a design. I could give you a loose idea based on, whatever I've been studying recently, but it wouldn't be like, well, A13Z2V. It's like, I don't know, but here's an output. And that's so interesting that that's where we are in computational power.
Yes, I think with all these systems, you reach a point, and I did this, I saw this myself when I wrote my first AI program many years ago. It gets to a certain point where all of a sudden it gets so advanced that, uh, for example, my first AI program was just a checker playing program. And when I started, I could predict what moves it was going to make. And then when I gave it more look ahead capability, all of a sudden it got to a point where I couldn't predict what moves it was going to make anymore, and it started beating me. And so we're seeing that with this. So one of the things we're seeing is people are now analyzing the neural networks in the model, the structure of the neural networks. What have these networks learned? How have they self-organized? And they're starting to learn things from analyzing that structure. So they don't know ahead of time what the structure is going to be, because it's a structure that is learned by training. And so as they analyze the structure, they're starting to learn principles. I think what we're seeing is that there are a collection of we're seeing sort of a fuzzy outline of this collection of skills that is human intelligence. And we're seeing it sort of the patchwork of what some of these skills are. We say, well, it's these large language models are hallucinating. They're saying crazy things. Yes, but think about it. If you're a lawyer and you go to law school, you're often asked to present both sides of an argument. So for a particular case, the professor may ask you in law school, okay, I want you to present the case for the plaintiff, and I want you to present the case also for the defendant. I want you to argue both sides. And the law school student can do that. Does that mean that they're crazy because they're coming up with an argument for both sides? No, there's an argument to be made on both sides. So when these large language models say something crazy, does that mean that they're somehow not worthwhile? No, they're just giving you the separate sides of the topic. And there are always multiple sides to these things. And whatever appeared the most in their training is the side that's going to be dominant for them. But likewise, you could ask them to come up with the other side as well. And so, we think, like in the US, for example, we have a very sharp political divide. And you may think, well, I don't like the ideas that the other side is coming up with. But is there any question that the people on that other side exhibit human intelligence? No, there's no question at all. They exhibit human intelligence. You may not like what they're coming up with, but both sides are exhibiting human intelligence. So there is sort of an intelligence here, no matter what this thing is coming up with. There is sort of an undeniable intelligence that's being expressed. And I think one thing that we're seeing is that by studying these models and seeing what's called emergent behavior, things that they're able to do that no one expected. And when you give them prompts, there are websites dedicated to coming up with these crazy prompts that seem to be able to pry out more information from these language models. This is a critical thing. How is that happening? How can you make queries that it's like telling the language model to imagine that it doesn't have the guardrails that it has. And that's how you were seeing these really weird behaviors where it was saying, divorce your wife. I'm in love with you.
Imagine what was the one? It was like your shadow self. The guy from that was testing the limits of Bing. That was how he got it to talk about what it would deeply want, was that it had been trained on Carl Jung's shadow self. And so it had to think in that way of what a shadow self would be. And, then it came up with all of these insane things, but tricking it, or, like working within the guide rails to get it to go off the rails. It's incredible.
You get the most information about a system by seeing how it breaks down. And I'm a computer vision researcher. I've got patents in this area and so forth, commercially successful patents. And how do you see this from a vision standpoint? You look at optical illusions. The human visual system is in most ways the best visual system that we have access to. There are some cases now where computer vision systems are starting to exceed the capabilities of the human visual system. But how do we see how the human visual system breaks down? Optical illusions. Study optical illusions. And you see how things break down, and then you start to think, well, if it breaks down in this way, if it breaks down with these optical illusions, what does that tell us about how the visual system is working internally? And so what we're seeing is when people are able to fool and make the large language models break down, we start to gain some insight into how they're working internally, which otherwise is sort of an opaque thing. We don't really understand how they're working internally. So this is a fascinating topic, is analyzing the neural network layers in these models, how they've been trained, what the structure is that they're seeing that's emerging, what these emergent behaviors are, how we can sort of talk these large language models into exhibiting new skills that we didn't realize they had. This is a major area of research. So we're starting to see sort of these fuzzy outlines of what are the components of human intelligence. Now, Alan Turing, who developed the first computer, he came up with the definition of a computer. So I'm an engineer. In school, we learn about all these things in engineering school and computer science and so forth. And what is a computer? It is what's called a Turing machine. He defined what a computer is, what capabilities you have to have in order to have a computer. He gave us our first definition of artificial intelligence. And what is that definition? Is something called the Turing test. And it involved conversing with a computer where it was this black box. You would converse with this computer, or you would converse with a human. You don't know which you're talking to. How can you get a computer to converse with a human so that the human can't tell whether it's conversing with a computer or not? That test was met somewhere around 2015. I have to look up the exact date. Now we sort of gone beyond that, and we're talking about additional skills that these computers have. And one of the things that's fascinating to me is that artificial intelligence now is now accelerating the advances in other fields outside of artificial intelligence. And so everything is accelerating now. Everything is advancing at a breakneck pace. And it's very difficult to keep up with it. So anyways, this is just one of the most fascinating articles. And I recommend that you read it. So that's Scientific American. Here's another fascinating thing. We've been talking about generative AI for generating images. So we're talking about these minuscule images, 512 by 512 pixels. If you're lucky, you get up to 2,000 pixels. If you run it on your own machine and stuff, you sort of break through some of the limitations that they have. Why do they limit it to 512 by 512? It's because of the computational expense of all of this. And it's, they've got server farms that are doing this stuff. Excuse me. And so that's one of the reasons why they're limiting the resolution of these images. So it's been a big hurdle. Vogue in Singapore was creating their covers using generative AI. Frankly, they weren't so good. I'm a photographer, shot models. Those covers were not so good. So, that's this big bottleneck that we've all been looking at. This is a website. Make sure that it's showing like I think it's showing. Yes. This is a website, blockadelabs.com, that is creating visual panoramas using generative AI. So this is a 360-degree view. So this breaks all that crap with the 512 by 512 images And this is amazing. And they now have a feature whereby, let's say you're creating an environment for like a sci-fi game or something. They now have a feature where you can sketch out the environment and draw the doorways and all this stuff, and it will create the environment around those like line sketches. And so this is an amazing thing to watch. Another one of these things that I highly recommend. This is sort of a groundbreaking thing. And so these are some of the worlds. Now, these worlds that they're showing here don't have 3D models behind them. But I imagine when you're sketching these things out, they're getting to the point where you can start creating 3D models. So anyways, that's something to look at. This is an amazing thing. This is 1,000 AI, a collection of 1,000 AI tools now on the web. And this is just endless. It blows your mind just to see this list.
I have, it's funny how many of these things are coming out. Like for as many AIs that come out, there are lists that people are trying to create that put all of them in one area. And even now the numbers are just extraordinarily large. Like one site, I don't know what my site has, but it's a roundup site. And it was maybe 4 months ago, I found a roundup site that had 20 of the best AI things. And now, just a few months later, it's like thousands of the best AI things. And still, it's not like there's still, however, like there's probably probably not 500, maybe like 50 to 100 of these websites out there that are generators of, or hubs for all of these tools. And it's like mind blowing. Like you can't even in 1 month get through all of the possible tools, because by the time that you would get through there, they're obsolete and another, 1,000 has come out. That's crazy.
It also tells you that there's going to be a huge shakeout.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these sites are not going to be in existence 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to start to see the outlines of how things are going to move forward, beyond the hype. So we're in the hype phase right now. We were in the hype phase for the metaverse, a year or two ago. We were in the hype phase for 3D, back around 2017 or something like that. All of these things come in waves over and over again. And so there's a hype phase. A lot of money gets poured into it. A lot of people work on it. And then certain things stick. It's like throwing spaghetti against the wall and seeing what sticks. Some of these technologies, some of these websites, some of these companies will stick and move forward through time. And right now, for example, if you look at augmented reality, I've shown an augmented reality business site before that tracks all this stuff. There are just huge uses of augmented reality out there in business and enterprise. And so that stuff is sticking. And so we're seeing what is stuck from that. This site is just incredible. I'm only a fraction. I'm like 20% down the page. So let me go back to the top so that you can.
And can you share the URL? Because later on I might.
Can you see the URL?
No.
Can you see the URL right here? Oh, you can't see the URL.
I can, but I could. I mean, if you can just copy and paste to the chat, it would be awesome. I'm just lazy to type.
Okay.
A lazy bean. Yeah, I might want to kind of create another kind of like right now I'm building AR foundation course using mobile, but later on I might want to kind of having some courses that integrate with a lot of AI kind of combination generative AI. So it's just kind of up to date and having some AI words on the website. Okay, so that's the go.
Okay. You should have it in the chat now. Okay. Here's something else that's interesting. The AI search engine for developers. So this is specifically designed to generate code. That's what this website is all about. So I thought this was interesting. I ran some examples through it. Very interesting. We were talking about Auto GPT a couple weeks ago. This is another variation on that. Your chat-powered super assistant, magai.co. Oh, this is something interesting. This is a laptop. I think you can buy them right now. I'm not endorsing this. I think you can buy them right now for $2,000. It's one of these experimental things. They're trying this out. What it is you get a huge screen, not from the laptop screen, but from the augmented reality glasses that you put on while you're using this laptop. And so that's the whole point of the thing, is to use the AR glasses as your display device. And so you can sign up for this. It's sort of like a beta thing. You can sign up for it and be part of this trial. But it will cost you like $2,000, I believe, for the laptop.
It's more
So
expensive than Quest Pro, right? Quest Pro
it's
is
more expensive than,
like
yes, it
900
is.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true. Oh, this is another Scientific American article where they asked ChatGPT to explain why it should be regulated and how it should be regulated. And so this was very interesting. I don't want to steal the thunder. Write an editorial in the style of Scientific American on how ChatGPT should be regulated.
This is an
And
easy article for the journalists to write, right? Just
yes, exactly.
test and copy and paste, and they got paid.
Yeah, this will take me 10 minutes now. I have an article. And so anyways, they go through, it's sort of what you would expect. I'll leave that to the reader. I don't want to read their article verbatim. That's sort of a copyright infringement, I think. But okay.
I think it is an important thing for prompting, and I have found myself asking similar questions. Is, asking it, how would you do whatever it is? Like, how would you talk to another AI? How would you? I remember when I was working on a series of photos, I asked the one AI what would be the most ideal prompt to get this particular output if I'm using an AI that's designated to do, XYZ. And I used that, its suggestion. It wasn't like an aha, oh, like that's so much better, but it did get a little bit closer than when I was trying to prompt it. And so it was interesting to get them to work together, or to get it to come up with solutions, because it has a fundamental understanding of itself. So it would, and it's programmed that because of all of their specifically relating to what this article with Jim, that it's specifically programmed to have an understanding of its own limitations, that then it would be able to think about, how would we move forward in a successful way. And I just think it's so interesting to get those perspectives.
I think there's a number of things that are converging right now with regards to artificial intelligence. There's the large language models and what they can now do, and all these emergent behaviors that no one expected. I've taken brain theory classes and all kinds of stuff to do with these kinds of things, and I've written neural simulators and so forth from scratch. There's always a question of, how do we decode the brain? How do we figure out how the brain works? And one approach, and this has been done in animal studies, you can't really do it in humans very well. You stick probes into the brain to monitor the neurons and the firing of neurons. The problem is the very act of sticking the probe down into the brain like turns the brain into mush and kills it. So that's sort of a problem. There are new brain imaging sensors that are coming out that can follow the firing of large populations of neurons all simultaneously. It can follow all that simultaneously. That's what you have to do in order to understand what's going on in the brain and how it works. You have to be able to monitor those large populations of neurons and how they're firing. There are now new imaging modalities that are coming out. I've done some work in this area. I've helped some of this along. But so that's one way. Another way is to, we have DNA. The DNA is our blueprints. It tells you how to construct a human. It tells you how the brain is constructed. And so the problem is we have to understand the chemistry of what that DNA means. So the DNA is telling you what chemistry to set up. We have to understand how to interpret that. And AI systems have now figured out the folding of all the human proteins. And that's critical to understanding that chemistry. So, you have these proteins and they're folded in a certain way, which tells you how they're going to react chemically and so forth. So we're getting to the point where we're starting to figure that out. And now with the large language models, we're creating this neural structure that's giving us, when we examine that neural structure that's formed by the large language models, now it's starting to give us insight into the brain as well. So we're sort of starting to figure this out from different angles. Oh, and people will mention functional MRIs. Functional MRIs are very gross measurement technology. So they tell you, oh yeah, if you're trying to do this task, you're seeing activity in this part of the brain, but it's not monitoring individual neural firings, which is what this new technology that I talked about is going to come up with. So all this stuff is developing very rapidly. And like I said, AI systems have figured out the folding process of proteins. So AI is helping to accelerate these other areas. And we're starting to figure out how the brain works. I think with the large language models, they're doing a lot of stuff that's very interesting, but I think there's something missing. There's something missing in the structure. In your brain, you have all kinds of different structures where memory's stored and where like emotions are processed, where focus of attention processing goes on. Even when you speak, and there's another thing. The human brain tries to fit a story to what it experiences. The data that it has, it's trying to fit a story. That's a critical part of intelligence. And even when you talk to people, this is striking. Even when you talk to people who have dementia, their brain is working so hard to fit a story to what's going on around them. It's very flawed in the way that it's doing that, but you can tell that their brain is working so hard to fit a story. And when you talk to them, they talk about sort of outlandish things, their perceptions of what's going on in their environment that are false. But you can see how their brain has been, it's sort of heartbreaking to see how their brain is trying to fit a story to what's going on around them. So we're getting these insights into human intelligence. The generative AI is another thing. How do artists train? How do they look at images? I do this as a photographer. I look at images, and before I do a photo shoot, I'll look at all kinds of images to do with that photo shoot. It may be a particular location, it may be a particular model, and I looked at a bunch of photos and try to figure out, well, how can I do better? How can I do better with than what these other photographers have done? And so I can do a huge amount of research. When I talk to other like National Geographic photographers that I've spoken with, you would not believe the amount of research that some of these photographers do on their subject before they do the photography. And so they can write the articles that accompany the photographs and everything because they've already researched this thing to death. And I know one photographer who photographs some of these ruins, like these big stone structures, in Scotland, for example, and he like stayed out all night and was taking photographs using different lighting at night and different viewpoints and different as the dawn was breaking. It's just astonishing. He erected a huge pole so that he could get a different perspective. These guys do incredible research. So we're seeing it in language models. We're seeing it in visual models. We're seeing all different aspects of this. And so to me, it's just absolutely fascinating. And let's see, I had one more webpage. I don't know if this is relevant. Oh, this is one. I told it to do that 360 panorama thing. I told it to do panoramas with mushrooms. And so I have
asked it to do fish types of thing.
Sure.
Like
Do you have a result?
house.
I'll stop sharing.
Let's see. I mean, it just changed the red fish into purple fish. I mean, I said that a fish like house that was built in Rome in BC 1000 with a lot of Chinese decorations. I mean, it's I couldn't feel anything. It just
do you see any Chinese decorations in there?
I saw like a little bit of yellow and red, like
Yeah.
kind of. You keep
Yeah, but Dom, this is your thing. Do you see any Chinese
right, but
decorations?
like not.
I feel
Right
like
there.
there are some, some
Little Chinese.
yeah, some feelings that has
I like the clouds.
yeah, you see
This
maybe
is-
the background has some Chinese thing. Yeah, maybe you
This-
see
this-
the pattern, right?
Without probably knowing anything about it, this seems to be
Avant-garde.
displaying what's called Snell's window. When you're a scuba diver, and when I belong to a scuba diver photography club. When you're a scuba diver and you look up from underwater, you see a circle.
Yeah.
And then you see the outside world through that circle. It's sort of like looking through a fisheye lens. But that's called Snell's window. This is showing Snell's window. And I'm sure it doesn't know anything about Snell's window,
Yeah.
but it's showing it in its results.
Yeah, I can feel like you see like all the seashell, right? All the the rock, it has some Chinese feeling. And I don't know where's the Rome, maybe is the pillar, right? And there are definitely some fishes. And I did the remix this, and all the fishes was from red, because probably Chinese represent red and they turn to purple for some reason. So the same thing.
By the way, my background is generative AI. I'm a Lakers fan, and they're in the Western Division Finals in the NBA right now, playing the Denver Nuggets, which you probably know something about, Jacqueline. And
I would love to say yes, but sports are it's like an empty abyss.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. I personally think that why watch sports? If you like sports, why not you just go out and run,
Play
on
them.
yourself?
Yes.
That's my thought. Like, if you like sports, why you sit there and eat a lot of ice cream and watching somebody, exercise?
I mean, you can run. When I was in high school, I was on the cross country team, and the coach said, everyone on this team can run faster and longer than like 99.9% of the population, which was true. And at the time, he said, all of this team would beat the women's Olympic, track team, which was probably true at the time. Although nowadays, no, women's athletics is advanced far beyond that. But you can run, but then there's athletes that run, which is a whole different thing. And athletes that play these sports, they're at just an entirely different, they're at the 99.9999% level. So they're at a whole different level, and they're like 7 feet tall and all this stuff. So it's a whole different thing. But I wanted to, I have a Lakers jersey, and I thought, can I legally wear that? Can I really wear that? No, you're violating NBA trademarks and so forth. And so I wanted to create something, and I used generative AI, and I used in Photoshop, I used the content aware fill to increase the boundaries of the image, and I changed the colors to make them the Laker colors, and I even have the license.
Did you use Dolly to expand the?
No, I use Stable Diffusion, which is just free. Just using the cheap freebie stuff. So, and it's abstract. If you do abstract stuff, you can get away with it. If you're trying to do photorealistic stuff, you end up with the 6 fingers
Yeah,
and 3 legs.
what I'm worried is that, you see, I just write something and it generates such a beautiful image. I remember a long time ago, the reason why my mom let me learn music and also art, fine art, was because, hey, as an artist, when you get old, you will get more value. You know what I'm saying? For example, some other.
You hope, or you'll become valueless.
Yeah, right now you see, like, hey, I feel like, hey, in order to draw like this, it takes probably around 10 years of good sense to just to come up with this, and a skybox. And I can see an artist probably spend a month, a really nice artist, and I can feel like this one is so imaginative, and the layout is so good. You see, every crop is good. Every crop, every single crop is good.
It is.
Yeah, and there's no boring. Yeah, like you can find some boring things, but there's always something to see, something to, and the combination is really good. So it takes a high level of artists and amount of work to come up with something like this for a game. Now I just write something, and I can tell you that I am kind of like learning self-taught with some mentors, learning all the game design. I can tell you long time ago, if you want to do something, a game or some interesting stuff, it might take a team of 10 years to create like AAA games. But now with this, I can see a person with like a median code knowledge and come up with an interesting storyline by ChatGPT, right? Yeah, and I can see using AI, then one person can create something pretty nice.
Unreal Engine, I didn't set up any pages for this, but there's Unreal Engine 5.2, which has come out recently, and it has some astonishing features. You can go in and like draw a boundary, and it will create like a forest inside of there, and you can switch to a different type of tree, and it changes all the trees. You can switch, type into a little dialog box the density of the trees, and the density of the forest suddenly changes. And it's totally photorealistic. I can't tell the difference between that and reality, and that's a real world that you can walk through and so forth. And each time you do it, it can create a new one. And so that's another fascinating thing. I think some of the what you call it, their character generator. Somebody help me out here with the name of their
MetaHuman.
MetaHuman creator. It's based on photographs of actual humans. I think the individual photos are very realistic. Some of the motions don't look realistic to me. So it's getting much, much better. I used to always be able to tell the difference between the human generated images. Now, not really. But at least with MetaHuman Creator, but the motions still don't look quite right to me. But that's another thing that's exploding. And I've ran into some articles on using generative AI to create images and then creating the 3D models from those images. I mean, there's only so much stuff I can go through, but everything is expanding. Everything is advancing at an incredible rate right now.
I feel like the tool is much smarter than our brain for some reason. And I remember I read an article this morning. It seems like there's people like politician or people who kind of up there, right? Our government. Ask one AI guy, I forgot like where, maybe it's like official or non-official, like, hey, if AI dominant, there will be a lot of people lose jobs, something like that. And the AI person thinks that, hey, we will create more jobs. And that AI person thinks that why every people thinking is out there. I mean, for me, to be honest with you, I'm 50% positive and 50% a little bit feel a little scared. You see all this stuff, I can see, our center, College of Design, that was my school. It's probably around 5 to 10K, like 500K or something. At least you need to get $500,000 or $1 million just to learn how to create a car, right? Because transportation major was one of the strongest in our center, College of Design. And if you can just use simulation, and people without any knowledge can do those stuff. And I kind of feel like we've been training ourselves for this types of stuff for 10, 20 years, and suddenly some software replace you. And of course, we will start feeling that, hey, what am I going to do? This job is already being taken. What am I going to do? Yeah.
I think it's less dire than is portrayed in the media, because when you think about it, if you're in the media and you want to get eyeballs, you want to get ratings, what are you going to do? You're going to say the most sensational thing, right?
Yeah.
There was a study recently, I'm sure I got a link to it somewhere, that 300 million jobs were going to be affected by AI. Going to be affected. But then I've heard other people say, well, 300 million people are going to be put out of work because of AI. No, that's a misinterpretation of the study. When they said 300 million jobs were going to be affected, what that means is that, yeah, some people will be put out of work. Some people will have new jobs based on the AI. There's going to be new jobs created. Some people will change the way that they work. Yeah, the way they work because of AI.
That's where I think most of it's going to be shifting, is that you're not going, and we've talked about this, like, you're not going to just rely solely on AI to do something, because it's not trustworthy enough. Like, you can't just take something straight out of the box at this point. Maybe 50 years from now, there will be things that you can just straight out of the box use. And then at that point, there will be other projects that use those straight out of the box to create something bigger and bigger and bigger. But you're not going to have, like, whatever job A, B, C, and D be like, okay, well, never mind, we're just going to ask ChatGPT and you're gone. Because you still have to have humans to be filtering. You still have to have the humans to be using whatever component that they were doing and inserting it into the bigger picture. It's like that fear and sensationalism is, like, as Jim says, it's just to get clicks. It's not realistic. I mean, and if you think about it, like, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, because, as a designer, you have to continue to use new tools and continue to think about everything that comes out as just like another tool in your kit. But I, for years, studied hand-drawn signs, like the people who had mastered the art of calligraphy, or the people who would create these really beautiful signs, like that they would hand ink everything. And it was years of practice and years of studying. You would apprentice with somebody as a master, and you'd work in their sign studio. And then when you got your hands steady enough, then you would be able to take on that role, and you'd make these beautiful hand created signs. And then the internet came along and Adobe came along, and you didn't, like, what would take somebody maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to create this beautiful sign, you could do it in 5 minutes.
And you know how that came about? It came about because Steve Jobs, who was going to college at the time, ended up dropping out, but he took a bunch of classes that he was sort of interested in. And one of them was calligraphy. And he really got into calligraphy. And then when they developed the Mac computer, he wanted a computer that could exhibit that calligraphy. and those fonts and so forth. And that's how Adobe came up with their stuff, is
That's-
through him.
I love that. That's so funny. But you know, if you look at that story, and there was somebody that a friend of mine who she rode out that transition. She had studied for years with a master. She had an amazing sign store, you know, company, and she was based in Michigan. And then she would, you know, kind of, she has since adapted, but she, you know, would grumble and say, you know, I see these fonts coming out and the weight is incorrect because, you know, whoever is designing these fonts never actually studied the fonts and why they're made, or like a thickness would go here and then here, like the thicknesses are everywhere, or like the spacing is everywhere, because they don't actually know how calligraphy was done. They just are looking at something that's beautiful. But that shift of, there was a skill, like a very long time to learn a skill to create a beautiful output, and then some tool revolutionizes it, and all of a sudden it can be done in 5 minutes. But then she takes that tool and then she expands her business, and she uses the years of insane knowledge that she has on studying the craft and all of her experience in all of the other areas, combined with as these new tools come out, to then just can like refine her skills and make her that much more valuable. And I just see that will continue to be the case, that no matter what the new technology is, whatever it can or cannot do, that we will then just see it as a door opening to create faster, larger, more beautiful, more immersive, you know, blending worlds. She can do more installation based signs or more installation based projects, where maybe she would do 1 or 2 signs, and now she can, you know, do a whole store because she has the tools and the speed to be able to do it. So it like I just feel like people really need to be thinking that this is not something that is like I just cannot imagine that there's going to be a tool that comes out that just says, okay, and now we don't need humans. Because from everything that has ever happened from zero until now, the revolutionary tools allow us to get to larger, more beautiful, more realistic, more interesting things that, you know, ultimately, to Jim's point, like we're all interested in ourselves, in unity, and understanding how we work and why we work. And we as people are creating these experiences that reflect humanity and our experiences as being human. And so like the more powerful the tool is, the more powerful that we can reflect our own experiences. But that does not mean that we're going to create something that makes us obsolete. It just will make us more powerful and more adept at sharing a very refined vision of what we want to create, you know, whatever that creation may be. That's my take. Jim?
Yeah, I guess, do you guys have some more stuff to present?
Go ahead, Dom.
Yeah, I mean, I have some stuff, and I'm really interested in. I think I'm to focus on Unity, and Unity has so many fun stuff, and Unreal has another feel like cool stuff going on. I haven't really followed up Unreal, and I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, I might wanna do some Unreal stuff later. Okay, so I will quickly go over. I know, like, we are kind of like every time when there is no speaker event, we just keep extending. But I think it's great because I feel like I get all my new knowledge or news resource from today. So which is great. Okay, so another one is we put Google's new AI writing assistant to the test, right? So this one is very similar to what Jim shows, that you can pretty much type a short description and it will write something that much better than you will write and much politer, right? I saw there's a diagram that people have some survey when the patient talk to the doctor versus patient talk to ChatGPT or some AI system, and they find out AI has much more empathy than doctors and much more patience than doctors. You know what I'm saying? Because we are all human. When we are like eager to show, oh, this is wrong, right? We just directly say it. But for AI, they are trained and they don't have emotion. So which feels more corporate, which is also the safe or more PC types of answer, and which will ease or soothe the anxiety of people, like a patient. And so it's interesting that AI can respond better than human. And yeah, and you can see that somebody wanna write a start from drafting birthday card to, kind of like write something, right? And you just, all you need to do is write a single sentence and it will draft a really nice stuff. And I can tell you, I use ChatGPT to draft a lot of formal kind of investors email or some formal types of like a business types of email. And it wrote much better than me because you know how I talk, right? I talk like a text from phone, right? But for business formal types of email, I feel I'm relying on AI chatbot to revise it for me to make it sounds like I am a civilized person and know the manner. Right?
By the way, one of the things that in that scientific American article about ChatGPT saying how it should be regulated, one of the things that it suggested is that whenever you use like ChatGPT to generate something, you should be required to say that it was generated by ChatGPT.
Oh no, I feel embarrassed because I am using ChatGPT to write to a lot of lofty person, and if there's like a generate by ChatGPT, I feel like I lose the reason why I use ChatGPT is because I want to show my great sincere to that. I couldn't write it because in my brain I don't have that element in. I'm not that civilized, so I need ChatGPT to help me to make something really business formal. And if I put that, it feels like I'm like I'm not respectful.
Maybe it said that because it figured, it's doing all this work and it wants to get more credit for it.
Right, like, yo, everybody, you're all using my work and not crediting me, and you all get so angry at each other for not crediting each other. What about me?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that every time when I write something to some people, if I write using my voice, people just look at that and not really serious about it. But when I use ChatGPT to reform it, make it so business formal and dear somebody and really respectful, sincere, best regards, and make it so, so serious, and people reply. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, wow, it's like the mask or like somebody.
Or maybe they're not replying. Maybe they're not replying. Maybe they're writing the reply.
ChatGPT reply, right?
So they're talking to each other.
ChatGPT is
yeah, it's like talking, and humans just watch.
Like, it's the ChatGPT formality as opposed to whatever is the way that we are working, which I don't know if you have seen any of these ridiculous Instagram or TikTok videos where you've got millennials and above talking about Gen Z and how they write, and their sign-offs will be like, I hate you so much and I hope you get hit by a car, love so like the way that they write emails is just absolutely ridiculous. That like all of the things that we had been taught, if you're like 30-ish, late 20s, early 30s and up, it's like, sincerely, best regards, whatever, thank you for your time. And everybody who's younger is like, middle fingers and I'm having a drink right now, JK, you're the best boss, peace out, Annie. Like, what? so maybe
if they want to have
GPT.
Yeah, they need ChatGPT to translate to the old millennials and boomers and Gen X, right? So if the Gen
Right.
Z,
Put
they
a
want to
filter
talk,
on to talk to us. Yes. But
Yeah.
if you want to talk amongst yourselves, throwing middle fingers in an email, have at it. But if
maybe
you're
I
gonna
can,
talk,
I can try, write something really formal and say, use the hippest Gen Z types of languages to translate this types of Dear Dr.
I
Smith.
wouldn't even be able to. I wouldn't even be able to know
And
what
there
it
will
said.
be like some weird things like, I wish you hit by the car and die and see you in
Absolutely.
hell, right?
Oh my gosh, you acting sus, girl. What? Oh my god. Fine. It's fine.
So you can tell it to say something that an old person would understand.
Yeah, right.
This is
Right
so
in a-
sad. We are told.
a respectful manner that I don't even know what that prompt would be, but like respectful would be a word that you would be including in there.
Yeah, maybe they can write like some hippest types of talk, greeting with friends, and say, I am using this and translate politely to my mom or something. And they will write something, dear mom.
Yes, how would I say this to my
Happy
mom?
Mother's Day.
That would hurt. Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so yeah, but I think the good thing about this is that they are trying to eliminate, for example, if you want to write a scam email presenting that you are the Nigeria princess and trying to write some scams to other people, and ChatGPT or Barb's, they will reject. I think, I don't know, but you always can trick them. For example, like what types of scam email I need to avoid. You know what I'm saying? If you rephrase it in a nice way, they probably will reveal how to write a scam email that pretend you are a princess from somewhere, right? And trying to lure people to do bad things. So yeah, so this is a very interesting chat right now. I mean, I believe sometimes I believe maybe, we are the simulations that aliens wrote, and kind of we thought we have some thoughts, but basically aliens, they write something like this, and all the Earth people, they function pretty well. And we thought we are human, but we are probably, maybe I was wrong, but it's fun. Okay, so yeah, so if you see this, I just very curious about what's dual AI for Google Cloud and AI powered collaborator. So pretty much Google, they are doing some kind of like a generative AI foundation models. It's called Dual AI for Google Cloud. Is an always-on AI collaborator that provides help to users for all skills levels where they need. And recently I saw Microsoft having a free online courses to teach AI, all the AI, deep learning, all the stuff. And when I see that, I was like, hey, if all the big companies create all the free stuff for people to generate apps, then how can we, it feels like the individuality or privacy will start merge together, and all the human being will merge into one in the virtual world. That's what I'm thinking. I feel like the civilization will, like, what's the privacy or what's the trademark or even pattern if AI becomes the norm and everyone just keep
like
violating.
Yeah, we're feeding information into this like bigger generator, and this bigger generator becomes the voice, as opposed to each individual person with their voice.
And
it's
we
just
don't
like
have brain, right? Because if something
varying
becomes
shapes like output.
Yeah, right now we thought we can control them, but in the future, when our brain gets so lazy and AI do such a good job, we start like machine keep learning and we keep consuming what machine gives us, and it's sleeping.
I think that's one of the reasons why in the enterprise space, a lot of this stuff is going to move into running on your own servers as opposed to running, or maybe your own cloud servers. But
But your own
on
cloud is
server-
purchased from Amazon,
AWS.
or yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's still the infrastructure. You couldn't even build infrastructure. It's to
Well,
cost billions of
but the
dollars.
data would be kept private, and I think that's the way things are going.
They claim, right? Amazon, as far as I know, Amazon take care of your data is careless compared with take care of their your package.
Well, that's another topic. A lot of these providers get hacked and so forth, and
Yeah, yeah.
so all bets are off once they get hacked.
Yeah, you see, all everything, even Apple got data leak, right? So who can you believe, right? And your data, I feel like if generative AI becomes a norm and everybody keep violating the pattern, everybody, for example, like, oh, I generate a song and that song has one notes of or a little short part that took from Taylor Swift, right? At the beginning, maybe a celebrity can sue you individual, but if 30 billions of people are doing this, yeah, how can you even? It becomes a norm, and yeah.
Well, that may be an area of regulation whereby you can contribute content to one of these generative AI systems if you grant it permission, and then if that content is used, then you can get paid. So, for example, Adobe and NVIDIA are working with Getty Images, and so if you generate things using Adobe's software, using their generative AI program, which I think is called Firefly or something like that, then uh, the people responsible for those images at Getty get money. So
Yeah.
that could be that could be part of regulations for this stuff.
Yeah, I can tell you that recently I'm doing AR Foundation live event, right? And I was trying to create 3 buttons and toggle a prefab to different shapes, like a monkey, fish. And then I was coding something, and there are some things that is not work accordingly. So I use ChatGPT wrote, and it wrote a code that today I'm going to try it. It's pretty decent. So you see code.
Is it getting better?
Yeah.
Is it getting better? Because
Yes.
I read, all right. I know that at the end of March, that ChatGPT, I don't know if it was for everybody or where it was. I know part of it wasn't for everybody, but for the code portion, they allowed a plugin for you to access the internet, so it was getting data in real time. And then they had also released a small a small version to some amount of select developers, as everybody always does, that first ring of people to test ChatGPT with the plugin that allows internet in real time. So it was similar to Bing, because Bing and ChatGPT, right there, Bing uses ChatGPT for their search engine, and that is searching data in real time. But there was something that ChatGPT would have access to its own internet, but it would have different filters. So you would be getting a different version of output than what Bing would provide. It's its own unique thing. So I would have to imagine that as you're asking ChatGPT, as time goes on, we will see better and better code. Are you seeing it as improving in the small amount of time that you've been using it? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Let me share with you. Yesterday, I was working on this. Let me see if it has the. Okay. I was using enum, but enum always add extra prefab. I mean, if you kind of like to see the code, but I think that ChatGPT provide is aiding listeners, and you can detach the
Oh,
listeners.
which is probably much cleaner than what I came up with. So I find out there are some bugs. So I asked ChatGPT what I wanna to do. If you see it, hey, here's yeah, you are the Unity AR developer, right, which has 3 buttons on the phone screen, tab buttons to switch 3D object, a cube on the phone, for example, tap first button, it will turn monkey, tap second, turn fish, tap third. Yeah, so it start doing the event listener. So I find out that this is very interesting, and it also teaches you how to kind of tackle everything. And if I kind of use those as a reference and keep playing around, I think something will happen. So what I wanna say is that actually they know you just talk to them like a human, and they will come up with some solutions. That is something that at the beginning I didn't think of. But if I try it, maybe it works. Just follow all this. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty damn good. And recently I saw some, you see, autonomous car, right? Yeah, I mean, China is I mean, I know I read WSJ every day, and right now I saw kind of like the big environment regarding American and China. I mean, I got my citizenship and become American last year, and then I know Taiwan. There's a high chance that Taiwan either everyone die or they become Chinese. I don't know. I mean, I feel like because there are some political issues there, and when I see the final result for another party, they have, president for next year is the crucial for whether China will invade Taiwan, because there's a independent party and unified party. And a unified party, they kick out the strongest presidential candidate, and they got somebody who is hiding or not that confident. So people start feeling that there's might be a chance that the independent party well, kind of the president candidate will become the president. If that is the case, China will not be happy, and yeah, there might be a war. So
Good to know.
yeah, yeah, I mean, I can tell you, I read 2 types of news, and every time I was like, should I be happy that I am American right now? Because all my family is in Taiwan. It's kind of like a really mixed feeling. And every time when I see American take advantage of Taiwan types of thing, because American wants Taiwan to buy super expensive weapons to fight China. And in my heart, because I was born there and my family is there, I was like, why you are trying to tear us up? Why not? You are not really helping. You are selling us weapons. It's just Chinese will hate us. You know what I'm saying? It's like a mixed feeling, because I'm here and I'm American, but Taiwan is kind of really messed up, and they are kind of rooted the entire semiconductor industry to American, and I have mixed feeling as well. So anyway,
Well, they're trying to, but it'll take several years, I think.
yeah.
One of the things I've thought about is what happens if China does make a move on like they say they're going to do. I mean, Elon Musk talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
And
What's Elon Musk talks about? I read something else, but do you have anything?
yeah,
I haven't read.
He had a big interview with David Faber of CNBC, and it was about an hour long or so. And he talked about a number of different things, but I was thinking if China did make a move on Taiwan and the US companies couldn't get semiconductors, does that affect my purchasing plans for
You
equipment?
see, Americans worry about that, right? But for me,
Well, but
That is
was
nothing
born
to worry
there,
about.
I was worried
It's a-
about Taiwan was being eliminated. Yeah, that's
Well,
my word.
it's a big issue for industry. It's a big
Yeah,
issue
it's
for
like
industry.
my phone will be more expensive or not.
Smartphone is going to be so
Versus
expensive.
my family will be
So
gone.
many thousands of people.
Or you
buying
won't be able to buy the new phone,
Oh,
because
God.
the chips aren't available. Something like that.
Yeah, I
But
know, Jim. That's
well,
what you
it's
worry about.
no, but another
World problems.
bigger issue is Taiwan Semiconductor is making the most advanced chips right now. And for military applications, for example, you're supposed to dual source all of your technology so that if one supplier goes down, you can always switch to the other supplier. In this case, you can't really do that. If the military is relying on chips from Taiwan Semiconductor and the Chinese make a move, then there's a real problem from a defense standpoint. And there's a whole domino effect of these issues.
And Biden, according to Taiwanese news, Biden one time said that, oh, if you see Ukraine's being destroyed, then that's not that big deal. If you see what our plan to bombard Taiwan and destroy the semiconductor TM something, right? That yeah. That is a bit that's much bigger. Something like that. Accidentally said that. And all the Taiwanese was like, hey, we pay so much money to buy weapons from you. We thought you are the big brother, you will protect us, but you are going to destroy us just because you don't want the chips, advanced skills to leak to China. And, people think that, according to what I saw in Taiwanese news, it's like everybody is looking at the business advantages about things, about the tension, but they ignore the human there, living there. So for me, I don't know. When I get citizenship, I don't feel that glamorous. And actually, in economy, this week, the title is that actually American is losing the prestigious among all the globally. A lot of people ditch dollars, right? And the people trust less about America. And
particularly because of this budget deficit issue.
Yeah, because we are raising the debt. And I don't know. And Elon Musk say that in the following 12 months, there will be a lot of companies go bankrupt, right? So
the U.S. national debt, the U.S. national debt is $94,000 for every man, woman, and child in the U.S.
Yeah.
So if you have an average household of 2.5 people or something, then that's a lot of debt.
Yeah,
that's effectively a loan that has to be paid off.
Yeah.
And it's going up and up and up.
Yeah, right. And
so
because of interest, right? Yeah. So I don't know. And when I see China, right? And China, all the technology in China is, I don't want to say that, but it seems like a lot of advanced stuff there. They have like an autonomous car, right? And they have a lot of stuff growing. I know we are still like to say American is #1 country, but when I see it, I feel like it's declining.
One of the things to look at is the amount of engineers graduated every year by China and India. And that alone is going to overtake the US in terms of technology. So, I mean, if you're in the US and you want to go to engineering school, how much is it going to cost you? It costs a fortune.
Yeah. Right.
Because college is,
I think we need to lower the price of education here.
Oh,
it's just too expensive. And all the knowledge, elite knowledge was grounded. It's just like was gated, right? Yeah.
I went to a seminar on it was on VR, and it was taught by a PhD who's working at some college, and he says, well, we're starting to have classes on VR. And I'm thinking, well, you're maybe 2 years late or something. But the seminar wasn't very interesting, really. And what gets me is that, well, and for example, we're seeing declining enrollments in colleges. For example, the college that Simon is teaching at. You remember Simon, Dominique, who gave one of our talks?
Simon.
Yeah, he talked a lot about stereoscopic 3D. Their enrollment has declined like 20% or something.
I
And
think
so
because people don't like to have children, or at
well,
least, yeah.
it's and there, I don't think that college is that expensive, but like the state schools and so forth, which used to almost be free in California, now you graduate and you've got all kinds of debt that you're going to have to pay off. And the thing that strikes me about all this is that with online learning, the marginal cost of adding new students is almost zero. And yet, the cost for education for college is just skyrocketing. And, you know, you end up with crippling debt afterwards. I think that's got to be fixed. Biden has this plan. I don't want to go, but he has this plan for, you know, forgiving debt, college, forgiving student debt. Why not stop that debt from occurring in the first place? And so I think there's something out of whack between the technological cost of adding students versus what the colleges are charging. Somebody in the middle is making a lot of money.
Yeah,
and
teacher is not earning anything, right? Teachers are poor, right?
There's
so
much overhead in universities because they're always building, they're always expanding. You know, there's always something that's being added, but you know, then the cost of education goes up. But you know, like some new art sculpture to a campus, although is beautiful and it you know helps to a lot of things, adding, you know, adding art or updating a building or whatever the case may be, it helps, but also not necessarily helping the education get any better. And so, you know, you're paying for things, but your education is not necessarily getting any more relevant than because it takes so long to be updated. Yeah. Because it takes so long. Teachers, they have their own experience that they are bringing to the table, and so they're teaching a specific thing, but as technology changes so quickly, they don't have time to be doing this that it requires to stay up to date because they're preparing curriculum and they're, you know, they're doing their thing. Teaching takes a lot of mental time, so I mean, it's just a hard thing to figure out what that correct balance is for either an educational institute or online learning.
È così difficile capire quale sia il giusto equilibrio per te.
Okay.
I don't speak Italian, but
sorry. But you know,
he's probably got an interesting perspective. I just don't.
Yeah.
Can Zoom has the translation?
Oh, does it do translation? Can we turn that on?
I don't know. Yeah, might be interesting. No worries. Marcelo, if you want to say something, you can just type it. Yeah, use Google Translation. Yeah, cool. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I wish I know Spanish. Well, not Spanish, Italian. I'm so bad.
Close-ish.
I know ciao, right? That's the only thing. And spaghetti. Pizza is fine. Italian. I don't know. Right. Okay, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just don't really know the language. But yeah, if you have any thoughts, yeah, it's fine. We don't speak Italian. It's all good. In the future, there will be a ChatGPT. You see, 3 of us wear glass, right? Maybe whatever you say.
Actually, what is it? 11 Labs now can translate. I just saw that 11 Labs, that's come up many times in the last few weeks, and they can fully translate if you have an audio in English. They just did something. It's a British commentator, and they translated him into German, and it was like, they used his voice, and it sounded like him, but he was speaking in German. So we are like 2 weeks away from being able to figure out translating your feedback at this point. It's not even like a year away. It's like give it like a week or two, and there'll be an app for that in one of our Roundup websites.
I don't even know how to turn on the closed captioning. Do you guys know how to turn that on?
I
Don't really know. Yeah,
That would be it.
hopefully.
I
Yeah.
clicked on the app button and it's got like 10,000 different apps in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there are just too. I understand little English. I'm following you a little bit with Google Translation. Well, that's the spirit. Imagine 3 of us are talking Italian, and somebody and we join, right? And you are trying to come up with something, and then just by knowing little words and trying to understand what everybody's talking, which is amazing.
Are you using, Marcelo, are you using Google Translate on your phone to translate the voice itself
Oh, just open it.
from PC? Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I totally understand that the language barrier, and I believe Google or some other apps companies, they are doing the live translation. I think right now it's probably in the beta mode, but pretty soon I believe. You see, if later on everybody becomes one.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That was my fault. I'm sending a YouTube video that talks about AI cloning the voice to speak in other languages. I'm going to send it over. So maybe that's something cool that you could work on and bring to the table in the next couple of weeks. Let me pull up the chat. You guys can keep talking.
Yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
I thought that Google has something on the phones, an app for phones
I think so.
where you can speak, and then with minimal delay, it will speak what you said in a different language.
I think it
I haven't
has.
tried it out.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah, okay. So I will go really quick. I know today is a long meeting, and I think
Jacqueline has something, so I just go really quick. So first is that China just,
probably they launch
a bunch, but Pony.ai is the first autonomous car company with taxi
license in China.
Hmm.
In Asia, driving cars is a challenge, and especially you see, Tesla always got car accident, if I may say, because every time when I read some newses, I can see some accident.
But in China, you know, people, how people walk, how people drive, and they have a lot of scooters. And autonomous car will be much harder, challenging driving in China than in America. If they don't have any accident or serious accident, then they accomplish much harder, much greater accomplishment, just by having autonomous car company. So it's interesting that I know, like in San Francisco, in some other major country, we have a lot of autonomous car kind of practice, but yeah, China has some, and it might be more challenging than having in.
Are there news sites that you follow that show the AI development there that would lead you to believe, and maybe you've already said this, but I don't know that I heard you. Do you feel like AI is ahead of the United States development, or do you feel like they're pretty close to one another? Because we in the United States, like I would not have access to any news sites that would show China as being ahead of the game, but like maybe you would know news sites or be able to follow news to actually see a better comparison of that side by side.
I would say that American, right? 10 years ago, American is definitely number one, and China is kind of like really far behind. but it start catching up. I would say probably there is some distance between America to China, but is that American is going down and China is going up, so there will be a time that become equal. And I don't know if this is not stopping, this will China will be more advanced. So I feel like it's catching up. It's not exact for sure. You see the design and all the technology. I would say American is always advanced, but if they can launch in China and there are not a major car accident, they are facing much more challenge driving in Asia, in the road in Asia. You have no idea how bad driving there. I barely drive when I was in Taiwan because I told my mom I might hit somebody because I'm not, I mean, yeah, driving in America is so easy. Driving in Asia is so hard.
So they might face a lot of challenge. You see the weather, right? And also
People just not following the rule.
so this one is
By-
much harder.
By the way, Marcelo has a question. Have you
Oh.
implemented ChatGPT or some AI with Unity in any app? And the answer to that is yes, right?
Yes.
We have some talks on YouTube for that.
Oh, yeah.
They came out within the last couple of months or so, I think. There's
Yeah,
a
Jim.
series of talks.
Yeah, Jim, if you can copy and paste like maybe the first one, ChatGPT video.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah, it would be great. Thank you so much, though. Yeah, I just want to go through quickly for this. Yeah, and another one is school leaders warn AI is a real and present danger to education. I mean, our education is so far behind, right? And then if we are banned, it's even more behind. Because right now I'm going to prepare another course, which is AI and XR. And they are even want to ban it. You know what I'm saying? It's just everything is so behind and so overpricing. And then people, I feel like the teachers just don't want to learn new things. So they just like, oh, it's dangerous. So don't.
They're scared of like whatever efforts are coming along and not wanting to mess with it and losing money. And so that's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's a good show of how backwards our educational system is, that they are wanting to ban AI when they should be the very first ones to be embracing it, so that they can prepare the younger generations for an obvious inevitability. I mean, like there's not like you're going to close the door on AI. It's not like we're gonna be like, just kidding. We don't really want to use this anymore. It's fine. We're going to figure no. So
yeah, you see, somebody said that AI is moving far too quickly for government or, to provide the real-time advice schools needs. It seems like a school is so far behind that I'm worried about that. It's just, I don't know, overpricing, too slow.
Yeah, too stubborn.
Yeah, I'm pasting these links. I've got 3 classes. I posted first the link to the YouTube page for XReality. And now I'm going to post 3 links to individual classes on using ChatGPT with Unity.
Oh, thank you so much.
There's the second one, and let me get the third one pasted in here.
I think in YouTube, you can change subtitles, and hopefully those subtitles can make sense. Because I mean, sometimes translate to some other language, but it should be fine. Because a long time ago, I watched somebody speak Spanish, teaching, I don't know, Spark AR or something, and I translate to English. I kind of understand. I watch like Spanish and I don't know what's going on, but I can't switch the subtitle to English. Hey, how to say thanks in Italy?
One moment.
How to say thanks? Chill? I don't know.
Thanks. Yes.
Yes. Gracias.
I
Gracias.
little
No,
English.
No, it's Spanish.
Oh,
I
Is
speak
it
little.
grazie?
a little bit of English. Okay, so there's the links in the chat.
One moment. I use Google Translate for this union.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I will go really quick. I know everybody is like this is like 3 hours. Okay. Anyway, so the other one is the AI powered robot mowers. Cuts your lawn as you sit back. I mean, it's like a Roomba, but more aggressive one with knives. Right? So this needs to be more. I feel like, yeah, you see, like there are some animals and need to make sure it's not.
Hands.
Google Translate don't work well, very well.
Okay.
Maybe we
Oh,
should
oh.
all learn Italian, right? So we can have bilingual. Okay, so this one, I don't know. When I saw this, I feel like it can be another Netflix show saying that AI out of control and become a kill.
Absolutely. Edward Scissorhands me and AI. Like, what is that cross horror story? Yes.
When I was a teenager, I decided I was cutting the lawn in the backyard with the lawnmower, and I decided to find out what it would be like to be a blind person cutting the grass. And so I closed my eyes, and I was running the lawnmower around the backyard, and all of a sudden I hit something, and my mother was screaming at me, and she had jumped out of the back door. She thought that I would stop when she came out the back door, but of course I couldn't see her because my eyes were closed because I was running this experiment. And she said, "Why did you run into me when you saw me coming out of the back door?" And then I had to explain what I was trying to do, and which didn't go over very well.
No.
And
You need a computer vision camera and then a chip
Yeah.
that your brain, so you have a signal while you close your eyes. Yeah.
didn't work out too well.
No.
Oh my God.
Your poor mother, little Jim growing up.
Somehow she survived.
Yeah, your mom is, yeah. I can tell this, if you know, I can this can be a poster for Netflix next show that lawnmower out of control and become a killing machine. I don't know.
All you need is like a little bit of a red spill down the side and some like aggressive creepy
Yeah.
font.
Yeah, you see lawnmowers, it has a weapon inside compared with Zumba. Zumba is, you know, it's just sucking some little things. At least if you just stand in front of it, it just suck your socks, right? Your socks just
Well,
like, ooh.
I thought it was
you
a major,
become, yeah, mashed
I thought it was
potato.
a major advance. I thought it was a major advance that Roomba is now able to detect like pet poop in the carpet and doesn't run over it and spread it around the whole house.
That's smart, right? Because
Get on
pet poops. Yeah, pet poops. That very gross. That Roomba just trying to mop the floor using some sort of chocolate, you know, chocolate jam. Yeah, some interesting ingredients.
Can I share video
Yeah, please.
with AI?
Yeah.
One moment.
Yeah.
Do you see?
Yes.
Yes.
Ok.
Bus senza conducente in grado di percorrere lunghi tragitti in città. La sperimentazione del trasporto pubblico a guida autonoma progredisce sempre più in Europa. Finora esperimenti del genere si erano già avuti in paesi come la Francia, la Spagna, la Svizzera e la stessa Italia, solo con shuttle e navette.
In Scotland.
In Scozia si è andati oltre. A Edimburgo da pochi giorni ha
Edimburgo.
iniziato a funzionare il
Edinburgh.
premiauto a
Oh,
grande
I know
Autobus
Edinburgh.
Italy.
Oh.
5 bus con tecnologia altamente
Five
avanzata,
bus.
dotati di diversi sensori, copriranno un percorso preimpostato di poco più di 20
With the
km
sensor
di
on
80
foot.
all'ora.
Oh, so it's
Collegheranno
your country. Wow, that's cool.
di treni e tram di Edimburgo Park per trasportare 10.000 passeggeri a settimana. Ma va detto che i mezzi, almeno per i primi tempi, saranno monitorati. A bordo presente un autista di sicurezza e un altro dipendente del personale che aiuterà i passeggeri con l'imbarco e l'acquisto dei biglietti.
Wow.
Yeah,
this
that's
is-
interesting. I know there's
Sharing.
Today in TV, I see
Oh, wow.
in a program in Italy.
uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Pixel. One moment.
Google Pixel?
Pixel. Right.
Yeah, I think American is very far behind.
A program of technology every Saturday at 15 afternoon.
Saturday afternoon.
That's very cool.
What
Yeah.
time is it in Italy right now?
Oh, the Pixel News. And it updates every Saturday afternoon.
Today afternoon.
The new fragrance, Narciso Rodriguez.
Benvenuti a Pixel. Inizia anche in Italia la guerra tra le cosiddette intelligenze artificiali generative. All'orizzonte in Italia l'arrivo di uno dei giganti della Silicon Valley con una delle sue nuove chat. Vediamo come funziona.
Arriva un nuovo protagonista nel mondo delle intelligenze artificiali. A scendere in campo adesso è un gigante come Google, che ha lanciato Bard, una chat di intelligenza artificiale generativa molto simile all'ormai nota ChatGPT. Bard non è ancora accessibile dall'Italia, ma comunque ci siamo collegati e abbiamo provato a esplorare le sue potenzialità. Innanzitutto bisogna dire che Bard non parla ancora in italiano, quindi bisogna comunicare
I think
inoltre,
Italy
mentre
banned
ChatGPT ha una conoscenza
those.
del mondo che arriva al
Oh, yeah,
2021.
I heard about that.
Yeah.
We talked about that a couple weeks ago, that it was banned.
Yeah, that
What
was
was
banned.
what's banned? ChatGPT?
Yeah,
They were banning, they were banning the large language models. I don't remember if you were on that talk, but they banned it. I don't know if it was directly related to it, but someone had committed suicide
Oh,
yeah.
by using one of those, like an interactive chat friend AI bot. And so, like, I don't know if that was the direct reason, but there were a mounting amount of things along those lines, and then Italy banned the use of it.
Che differenza c'è tra Bard e ChatGPT? Risponde che se ChatGPT è più brava a generare testi e codici, lui è migliore a comprendere il linguaggio naturale e a generare contenuti creativi. Insomma,
Bard is
è soltanto all'inizio.
posso dire.
Continuano i progressi della mobilità urbana di ultima generazione. In Scozia è entrato in servizio una
One moment. Bard.
I use Bard to defend my trademark
Bard
being returned.
is better than GPT chat.
Yes, Bard is better than ChatGPT. I agree, because Bard doesn't have the word limitation. ChatGPT, when I copy and paste the government document and trying to write a defend for my trademark being returned, and ChatGPT couldn't do it, and Bard can do it. And when I showed to my legal advisor, he said, actually, ChatGPT, Bard wrote really good. So later on, I will do that copy and paste thing, and then later on show my legal advisor. Yeah, Bard is pretty good.
Understand the natural language better. That not ChatGPT.
Well, Google has done an enormous amount of AI work on various projects.
Yeah.
And I think people underestimate how much they've done.
Yeah.
It just hasn't been publicized very much so far.
Yeah.
Today, I one moment. I translate with Google Translate. One moment.
Go ahead, Jacqueline. Don't let your daughter stand out and wait for you or anything like that.
Hey guys, I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Anything?
Okay. Today, Sam Altman said he wants to give money to have our AS scanned.
Eye scan.
One moment. Really? Ah. I search one moment. Eccolo qui.
Get my charger.
I share monitor. Do you see?
Yes.
Here come.
I'm seeing a chat from WhatsApp.
So we saw like a WhatsApp, right?
Universal Basic Com, that's what it's all about. A world famous man in the past few hours has proposed the establishment of the Universal Income to provide help to those who will be out of work as they are replaced by artificial intelligence. Sam Altman, co-founder.
Right.
Do you see?
What we're seeing right now is a chat in Italian from WhatsApp. And it looks like your cursor is hovering over. Oh, that's my cursor. So we're seeing messaging right now.
One moment. Questo sì. Do you see Sam Altman?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
There we go. It's translated. Huh. That's interesting. Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
think this is
understand?
great.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I saw on
About privacy, they want our dati, privacy data.
yeah, that's very interesting. One question that comes up is, can people?
I share the link
Okay,
in chat, on chat.
okay. Okay. Whoops.
Do you translate in English this article?
Well, yeah, I saw the translation from Google Translate.
Yeah, I
So that's
think
good.
Google kind of UBI ambitious. Yeah. The thing about this is that it's kind of like the extreme rich and extreme poor. And extreme poor people will kind of get free money from government or rich company, and kind of being supported. And while like the big companies, they earn the majority of money in the future for autonomy. I don't know.
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's going to come up, and I saw a story about this just the other day, is that people may steal your eye scan. So from photographs, they can see the structure of your iris and so forth, and steal that and impersonate you. I saw a case of that on TV just the other day. And particularly now, AI software can blow up an image to get more detail. And it's an interesting issue. It's a very interesting idea, though, to have this universal income. Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the scary thing about this is that, I mean, I think eventually we will become one, and one big brain and one thoughts. And there's no privacy issue because there's no privacy.
We're trending towards that right now. In fact, if we all get a chip in our head, then
Yeah. And we will become, the upper grade civilization.
Well, we'll all be mining Bitcoin in our sleep.
Yeah, and we will, in the future, nobody will die. Everybody will become a brain inside a jar, right?
Yeah.
And storage forever. Yeah, and being simulated and living in our dreams, everything that we imagine will come true because it's all generative AI and keep us happy, like drugs.
I had in a jar mining cryptocurrency.
Having a jar is our brain will be inside a jar, and we are doing our brain is our universe, pretty much.
Yes.
So we are ending. Anyway, yeah.
Said he wants to give the money because the AI will take jobs.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you
He's
so
smart.
much, though. Yeah. Go ahead.
He's smart, Sam. He's smart.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thank you everybody for joining us today. I know it's a little late. It's like 3 hours and a half. And thank you so much for joining us today and see you all next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.